Kideaters vs. Zoo BoyZ, Chapter 14, Part B. The way out was still a little far out from where they were. After covering a lot of ground, Ralph stopped dead in his tracks. The nozzle of the gun dug into his back. Hightower almost tripped over him. She badgered him, "Why are you stopping?" He mumbled through Ronnie's sock and the masking tape, preventing him from answering. It was another question she didn't want the answer to. With his hands fastened behind him, he tried to point with his shoulders. The CO told John to walk ahead and see why this man won't move forward. She handed John the pistol. She had in her rear holster, keeping her sidearm on Ralph. Ron insisted again. "Let me do the gun again." She gave the orders. "Just hang on, fellas." John stepped forward slowly and with extra care. Once he saw what Ralph saw around the blind corner, he was back. He ran back to report. "No, there's a massive spider. We better all have guns." Jeremy left his place in line to go up to her side. He whispered to her, "What about the net launcher? Maybe we can catch it and contain it." Ron shouted from the rear, "How big is it?" John replied, "Way too big for the net launcher. It's like the size of a house, guys." Ralph's eyes were big, expressive, and he nodded. Their fearless leader took a few moments to think things through. She told John to hold Ralph at gunpoint. Then she crouched down to dig into her backpack. Her hands pulled out 2 more guns. She reassembled her team, put them all side by side so no one would be in the line of crossfire. She gave a pistol to the other 2 boys. John kept Ralph in front of him. She motioned for them to march around the bend. John kept his gun in Ralph's back, forcing him to go where he wished not to go. Just before they were within range, the major motioned for them to stop, wait, and be still. She went ahead to move into firing range. She took aim and blasted the spider right through the thorax. It shredded into powder. The boys wondered what type of bullet she used. She spoke, "Dust. It's just the empty shell. Spiders, especially tarantulas, shed their skin, leaving it behind." Ralph tried to add his 2 cents worth. Hightower addressed him. "You just can't." Interrupting her, Ron yelled, "She has a mom!" That was all he could get out. They looked forward and up. Their eyes climbed the legs until they reached the head and body of the Goliath 25-foot, 8-legged menace. The boys really missed their little boy David, especially right now. Their leader didn't say anything. They followed her actions. They laid belly down, pistols aimed up. Ralph was the only one still standing. He went to run, but John stuck out his leg and tripped him. He fell flat, face first, into what looked like spider dung. Once again, they followed their hero's actions and fired every live round they had. The Kideaters' guts flew sky high into the air, some of it landing on them. They buried their heads in their arms. The coast was clear once again. Ron raised his head up to look. The others did the same. And then they looked at each other. They began to exhale laughter. Ronnie had spider guts dripping off the back of his head. It moved down and around to his face. He uttered the old adage, "What goes up must come down." That was a much needed comic relief. They helped each other stand, getting Ralph back on his feet. Lastly, John offered, "We should have sacrificed you like live bait. We saved your life, you know." All Ralph could utter was, "Mm-hmm." His entire face was covered with crap, literal fecal matter. John used Ralph's own shirt to wipe his eyes clear. The three boys heard a familiar sound. Jeremy noted, "Here comes the flock of seagulls." The air above them was filled with a dozen seagulls, snatching bits of spider guts out of the treetops nearby. Major was busy digging into the bottom of her pack. They misunderstood her actions. Having not seen these birds before, maybe she didn't know the threat they brought. "These things eat meat." She pulled out a first aid kit. They were so confused as she conveyed her idea. These are packets of Alka-Seltzer. 12 birds, only 10 tablets. We'd use them for a headache or flu symptoms. We'll throw them to the birds. Their internal organs will render them helpless." She handed them out, 2 tablets in each packet. She kept the last 2 packets, then gave them distinct instructions. Wait till they are close." Jeremy disagreed. "I don't want them close." She grinned. "Of course not, but they're going to dive bomb us searching for more to eat. Toss a tablet up in the air, and they'll snatch it up and swallow it whole without even biting it." As they opened the packets, Ronnie asked, "Oh, I get it. 1 per bird? But will this blow them up? I don't want bird guts on me, too." Major Hightower clarified, "No, they won't explode. Once it's in their belly, it will give them a bad bellyache. Their digestive system can't handle it. It will send them helplessly to the ground. They will all have to land, and these tablets will take away their desire to eat. That is when we'll escape." She pulled out a few towels. One had the old spit from the tadpole thing that got Dave. Another one had some of the slime from the flying fish fairy that got Ronnie. She employed the boys. "Get the spider guts off you before the birds do it for you." John shared his towel with Ralph, who was rendered helpless with his hands zip-tied behind his back. The birds finished cleaning out the entrails from the trees, and they began to descend on the team. As they swooped, the boys tossed 1 tablet per bird. They cheered each time one took the deceptive snack. One by one, they crashed land around them. It worked like a charm. With only 10 tablets and 12 birds, they had the choice of catching the last 2 or shooting them. Their leader felt the same way they did. Some species are too dangerous to have around. Major aimed the net launcher as the final 2 zoomed down toward them. She pulled the trigger and flam swack! They were tangled in the net. She commanded, "Let's carry on, men." Jeremy asked, "Who's gonna grab and carry the net with those 2? She asked. "Do you really want to save them? They tried to eat us. Leave them here," Ronnie pleaded. "But I don't want them to die. Can we just maybe..." Her heart was touched. "Okay. Drag the net behind us, Ronnie. Also, keep the guns I gave you. But be extra careful. Try to remember what I told you about the safety and everything. Now, come on. We're going home." They all cheered. And now on to chapter 15.